Hey everybody, welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast, the only live streaming in-person arts and entertainment podcast covering northeastern Pennsylvania, offering a true alternative voice in local media. We're coming to you from the NEPA Scene studio underneath Center City Print in downtown Scranton. I'm Rich Howells, the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with Scranton indie pop rock duo Atari+Mari. In their first ever interview, we're talking about how they met and started making music and films together over a decade ago, their debut album, Standing on the Verge of Getting Worse, writing about societal and political issues and building on simple arrangements, their triangular stage masks, which I don't know if you've noticed those yet, and use of mixed media, setting their music to the classic silent film Metropolis, and much, much more. So we're also exclusively premiering their next single, The Wind Screams Lonely, before it's available anywhere else. So please listen in, join our conversation with your questions and comments down below. We will get to those later on in the show. So anything you want to add to the conversation, we would love to hear from you. And, boost that algorithm, get us out there to more people, all that good stuff. Before we dive in, I just want to thank our sponsor, Center City Print, who provided this studio space for us because they are awesome. You can use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online for 10% off. Center City Print can bring your ideas to life in 3 locations: Scranton, Kingston, and Hazleton. These one-stop shops are locally owned and operated, offering high-quality printed products, copy and custom print services, and design solutions to help you, your small business, your nonprofit, your band, your photography, your art project, or any venture thrive. Visit them now at centercityprint.com and use promo code NEPAScene online or in person for 10% off. So to start, if you guys could introduce yourselves and tell us your position in the band.
Atari first.
I'm Atari Antlion. I play the drum machine. I'll occasionally do a few vocals, and I write the songs with Mari.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Mari B. I do a lot of the writing. I play guitar, and I'll help with the mastering and a lot of the later mix process. Just expand on ideas that he's already cooking up. It's a joint effort, That's pretty cool.
So how did you guys originally meet?
Oh boy. That's junior high. Is it junior high? Maybe the beginning of high school.
If junior high's still a thing, yeah.
Yeah. Do they do junior high? Still, no, I'm kidding. We were in drama club in junior high. Just out of a lack of anything to do, right?
I was a drama geek myself, so
and
I get that.
Actually, I think the impetus comes from someone the scene is very familiar with, one Mr. Chris Jones. So I forget how exactly it all went down, but it started with Chris Jones insulting me. He was like, "You 8th graders suck," right? Because he was a freshman, and all the freshmen they hate the 8th graders. It's just a fact. It's just a fact of life. It's what we go through,
Absolutely.
And then the next day he apologized. And he was like,
that's so great.
He was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. You're actually cool, dude. I didn't." And I remember being like, "Aw," and I was like, and then friendships were made off that. We had a friend. He's not with us anymore, but his name was Jack Schaefer. Very charismatic guy. He got us all out of our shells and got us talking with each other. We started bonding over music. Before I met Atari, I kind of listened to some stuff that I found by myself and enjoyed, but a lot of my taste was my parents' taste in music, a lot of hip-hop, not a lot of rock yet or independent music. I didn't even know that you could find stuff like that, just especially with the dawn of the internet. And I was huge into Gorillaz as a kid. That was the band that did it for me in terms of I'm gonna do this one day. And Andy liked gorillas, and I hadn't found anyone in school that liked gorillas. They thought it was weird because there was cartoons involved, you know. And at the time, their new album Plastic Beach was coming out, and he had songs I hadn't heard yet from that album.
Okay.
And he it was.
So he had the goods.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god,
How was your dealing?
it was awesome. It was really cool, and they got me into Spoon, and I was like, all right, you know what, this is cool. We're gonna keep rocking. Yeah, and we went over to the Spence house. I went over to play Beatles rock band and hang out, and yeah, we were good friends. His brother had a sitcom, and he showed me that sitcom, and I was like, oh my god, people make like art. Like this was like it opened my mind up. Like you could just do art, and I remember what cemented the friendship for me was he was like, I'm going to show you my brother's like sitcom, and I said, is it funnier than Arrested Development? He said, nothing's funnier than Arrested Development. And I was like, fair, yeah, that's true.
At least he was properly setting the expectations.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, I only made 2 episodes, so I don't think so.
Yeah, right.
Didn't get picked up.
But yeah, and since then we've just been rocking. It's been a strong friendship and a creative partnership that's lasted a really, really long time. We've made a movie, done a whole bunch of stuff. We worked together at a really terrible job. That was cool. And then we got together and we actually made the album we wanted to make, and that was really neat.
So what has kept your friendship going all these years?
Blackmail.
Yeah, blackmail. Blackmail is a good one.
I've got a lot of dirt on me.
Yeah, vice versa. It's like a standoff, like good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
But like friendship.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I would say, well, we actually lived together for a time, and I think once you've lived together with a person, you get to sort of see, to quote Gabe, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And you get to see how hard it is for Gabe to for Mari to keep stuff off like his floor, like clothes and various half-eaten meals and stuff like that. And I think once you see that, you're just then you make
just
peace
the
with
one
it.
pizza.
Once you make peace with that, I think you're kind of like, yeah, we can sort of do anything together.
Yeah.
So how did this project, Atari+Mari, come about? Has that been in the works from the beginning, or is it something that kind of you started off kind of doing one thing and it developed into this? So how did that work?
We've made a couple attempts at making music together, and we've always come out with something, but earlier attempts were always like band focused, and that we have to make like a band that's like very traditional. We tried to like work with very traditional means when finding 2 other people or even just an extra person to pick up the one spare instrument can be very difficult. What made this click a lot easier was that Atari got into producing. Like he got his hands on Ableton, and he was just a dang whiz kid about it. I just thought a lot of the sounds that were that he was like coming up with, and I mean most of it is on the album. I mean, I just remember thinking this is stuff that we liked listening to when we were kids, and I mean I can write to this very easily. And I've had experiences trying to make my own music in the interim, and it can be tough. I write pretty handily on my own, but sometimes I lose my ear for what I want to hear out of myself, and I feel like with this album, or the songs that ended up on the album, it was just kind of very freeing. It was just like, this is immediately what I want to write to, and I want to make a song out of this. And before we knew it, we just had like an album's worth of material plus, and I was like, all right, let's make an album out of it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Now, how did the band's sound develop? Because you guys definitely have a very distinct sound that I think is really different from what anybody else is doing locally right now.
Well, a lot of woodshedding, I would say. A lot of us like jamming together with different. At times it was just a guitar and him on drum kit. We do a lot of listening to just mood board out what we like about the acts that we listen to, especially the stuff that we have shared interest in. And over time, we just got really good at taking the stuff that we really love about what we listen to without being derivative, really. It's hard to explain so concretely because this is kind of the first thing we've ever released outright to the public.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of woodshedding. It was a lot of like practice and just jamming for the fun of it, and really like just getting a feel for our artistic impulses. You know, just like, you know, oh, he likes doing this. All right, I'm going to try and do this to try and bring out and accentuate what makes that a strong like artistic choice.
Okay.
And that's kind of over explaining because I'm not thinking that way while we're, you know, doing it. It's just a good time, you know.
Really, it took a lot of me sending him a song at like 1 a.m. and being like, "I just did this. What do you think?"
Yeah, I'm used to that. When I lived with Chris Jones, it's just like 3 a.m, dude. I've got the greatest joke ever. And I'm like, all right, let's hear it. It's a pretty good joke. It's not for nothing. It's all a good joke. You'll laugh. Like, I'll laugh at this harder tomorrow. I'm gonna go to sleep.
And if it's not good, then he'll apologize for it.
Yeah. He's a very polite man. Yeah. God bless his mother. Is one of the best women I've ever met in my life. She's the kindest person. She has the patience of a Buddhist monk. I'll tell you what, man. So shout out, Mom. Shout out, Chris, if you're watching, and if you're not, you will get to pet the horses one day. I don't know.
So if you guys have been working on this for so long, like when did you know it was right? When did you know, okay, these are the songs, this is the sound, this is the right time to put this out and make it public so that other people can hear it?
I can't speak for Mari on this, but I will say when I knew it was right is when he would send me back what he was working on. And it was just this moment of like, we made this? Like this sort of feeling of completeness of like how like this was originally just a sort of a fleeting thought in our heads, and now it's like an actual tangible thing that and just like listening to the tracks and seeing like the way he would add words to the music that we both created, and like the levels of meaning that I was able to get out of that. And I would ask him, I'm like, did you, like, when you did this, was this sort of like a double meaning thing? He's like, yeah, no, that was intentional. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And it was like hearing something new for the first time. And that's when I'm like, this is good. People are going to like this.
A point of note, I guess, would be both Atari and I are definitely products of the media we've consumed, and we have consumed a lot of it. So, I mean, we've watched a lot of movies, we listen to a lot of music, we read a lot. Like, it's an infinite well to pull from, especially if the stuff you're pulling from is such like formative, like true to yourself, like stuff you value. For instance, and I know we'll get to the track by track eventually, but sure. It Caught Me at a Bad Time, which is a fan favorite we found at least. The middle 8 of the song that separates the first verse and chorus from the second is just a "Don't hug me, I'm scared" quote. It's just us like interpolating that, but it fits with the song because it's about like misdirection. So I just found that fit uncannily well in there when we were writing it. So I mean, it's really just having enough time just intaking all the stuff we love and like picking apart every aspect of what was good about it, and leaving behind, maybe not leaving behind, but not copying the personality aspects. You know, because I love Prince, but I'm not gonna go around in like a thong. You know, I respect.
No matter how much I ask you to.
Yeah, right. Oh man, there's a price, man. There is a price. But you know, and I respect him for doing that. That works for him. You know, it's not for me, but the melodies and the harmonies and his way of telling a story. You know, I'm gonna definitely take notes on that kind of stuff. You know, for sure.
Now, do kind of the mass and the visual part of it play into that?
To a degree. Some of it is anonymity, which, I mean, if anyone's seen me out in public, I never actually wear the mask in public when I'm doing a solo thing. It's mainly when the group is together that it works the best, I've found. But
I was gonna say there was a guy coming to the open mic that I think is ripping you off.
yeah, I gotta get on the litigation on that one. I really do, or marry him. I'm not sure which one comes first.
You could do both.
Yeah, probably. You know. I guess. Well, the masks also came with a funny idea. To make like the concept of Atari+Mari into like a sitcom, sort of, not like a live action one, maybe like something that Adult Swim would pick up and be like poorly animated or something. But
I think our working title was actually Atari+Mari's barely animated adventure.
yeah, and the idea would be that the two of us were robots trying to blend into like society.
Okay.
You know, and trying to just pick up how to be like normal and chill, and then getting into like really, really just off the wall type of shenanigans. I think I had one really good plot where it's like I accidentally get like inducted and then start leading a cult, not realizing at all that that's what's going on. Like I'm just like, oh, these guys are so nice, you know, like I don't know. They seem cool. I haven't drank anything. I can't drink. You know?
So who came up with the triangular mask there?
It'd probably be you, wouldn't it?
I believe it was. So it came out of the name, because the name existed long before like the masks or anything like that.
Okay.
When I was younger, I made a terrible stop motion, if you want to call it that, video out of some. If you've ever been to FYE and like they have those like candy tins of like famous like video game characters, I had a Pac-Man ghost and a Mario mushroom, and so it was just a thing with me just shifting my voice up very high, and we got it was the Atari+Mari show, and Mari thought that was hilarious.
I thought it was genuinely funny. I'd never seen anyone my age like do anything like at all. Like they normally, you know, we're gonna go to the mall, and this guy was making like a stop motion film. I was like,
right,
all right, I respect this. I have to, like, this is really funny. But yeah, after we were working what would we even call the job we were doing? Like, does it count as a desk job? Kind of, like half the time?
Sort of desk and field job. I would say we were in a unique service industry.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give too much away.
We were video editors. And I remember as the songs started, the beats were finally achieving form, and I was starting to write stuff and successfully like write these songs that I was enjoying listening to over and over again. I was like, we don't have a band name. We like we have a couple like old band names when we had other friends in high school. We had a band called Redemption, but it was like lowercase RE and then Demption was in all caps. That's a deep cut.
Recently found the original pictures we took, and oh god,
it was rough. It was rough. There was a lot. Like when I say woodshedding, man, like we did not start off.
I'm wearing a trilby in the picture. That's how far back this.
We get an A for creativity, but not delivering. We had a small, short-lived band called Baby-Faced Fox.
That's the one I can never remember.
Yeah, that one was weird. I don't think we wrote a song to that one. And we were actually in a band with Chris's little brother, Keith.
Oh, okay.
Love him. It was called the Filthy Humans. We were a punk band.
Nice.
We got into a beef with our friends at one point. I didn't get it totally, but yeah. It was a fun time. We had one song called "Brand New Shoes."
We have Brand New Shoes, and then we also had a cover of "Brain Stew" by Green Day, where for some reason they let me sing.
Yeah,
and I just in a terrible falsetto, you couldn't tell what I was saying, so we called it "Brain Woo."
Yeah, it's called "Brain Woo." Yeah, if anyone can find it, it's out there, and I don't recommend.
The SoundCloud still exists.
It's not a hidden gem. It's just funny.
That sounds like the story of most punk bands, I think.
Yeah.
You know, one song and then immediately burn out, get into a fight with a bunch of friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
It's a punk atmosphere.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So You mentioned in your bio that you kind of write about some current day societal and political issues. I want to maybe talk about that a little bit. You know, what are some of the things that are inspiring you?
An interesting point about my writing process is up until Atari+Mari, I didn't have too much in the vault per se, and a lot of it was very like you'd write about vague concepts or love and all this stuff, and those songs, you know, I like them, and I'll probably touch them up and do something with them some point after I get bored. But what I enjoyed about Atari+Mari is for some reason I was getting really good at writing the villain, you know. The first half of the album, for at least how I started envisioning it, is like the tale of like the great like leader, you know what I'm saying? And the songs are like catchy, which, you know, thanks for everyone who enjoys our music. But they're about people who are doing the wrong thing, very much doing the wrong thing. It's just a lot of fun to be able to just jump into that like mind frame and actually pick apart, you know, how a person like that would think, you know. So a lot of the political stuff came like when I was writing along to a lot of the stuff as we were generating it. It was definitely a point of hardship I was going through, and I don't really ascribe to like self-destructive like habits. I just don't really see a point in them personally. I get why anyone would, but for me, it just feels like I'd be putting on a show, to be honest. So instead, I was just like, I'll just do like 6 Disney villain songs. Like, why not? And just make them about the guy who's kind of fucking this all up. To remain vague. You know?
It's fair.
But the first like half, I did like he's like the great leader, right? And then the latter half is people affected by that, you know, and trying to overcome that and maybe get past it or maybe succumbing to it. And the people who are, you know, in their heads trying to figure out what the hell's going on and what's going wrong and how they can actually like fix anything, because it does feel like hopeless at times, you know. And I just wanted to capture that kind of feeling and put out some music that says, hey, you know, I'm feeling that too. I get it. You know, I feel like music should have a bit of empathy, you know? Right. So, I mean, yeah, that's the idea behind it.
I personally really enjoy music that has that, you know, very listenable, even kind of poppy sort of sound, but then there's immediately something underneath that, and you can tell by the lyrics that there's more going on because they're not cliche.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of the same type of relationship stuff that you expect, and not that you can't write about those things.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm sure that stuff, you know, comes into play somewhere, but sometimes it's just like that's all you hear.
Yeah, it has the like tendency to turn into like brain mush. It's like there to like it doesn't come off. I remember having like a 1-to-1 comparison for me. I was listening to oh god, what song was it? I think it was a Miley Cyrus song, and she was singing about love. And I'm nothing against Miley Cyrus, love Miley Cyrus. Midnight, I think it's Midnight Sun. I forget. There's a really good song by her that should have won the Grammy over Flowers. But she was singing about love, and I could appreciate the sentiment, but it didn't hold a candle compared to like a song from like the 90s, like an R&B song that's like about love, and you're like, this person lived it. They didn't have like they wrote it themselves, and if you have writers, that's also not a big deal for me. But like the sentiment has to come from like a place of like genuineness. I feel like, and sometimes you have to like, oh, I gotta write the love song, you know. So let's get the team in to write the love song. And it's like, for me, I prefer something that has a more hands-on approach and can elaborate more on those feelings in a way that is unique. Because you can write a song about being in love and have it be like paste, and sure, people will identify with it, but is anyone growing out of it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pop can still, pop. The word is kind of used in a negative way, but it doesn't have to be.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's intelligent pop, and a lot of artists that are very like in the mainstream. I deeply admire. I mean, I love Billie Eilish. I think her music is really good, and she managed to tap into a zeitgeist and a feeling amongst like the younger generations that no one else was really willing to go that deep on.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. Personally, also like Foster the People, Pumped Up Kicks, like that was a real moment.
Yeah.
I just love the moment that, like, to this day, people be like, "Did you know that's about like school shootings?" Like, nah, it didn't cross my mind at all.
Come on, really?
Yeah, like, yeah.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
Did you know that Semi-Charmed Life is about crystal meth, apparently?
That one's a little more deceptive because that one is super cheery. That's like...
But they do also say doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break.
They do say it.
It's in there.
It's in there. It's definitely in there.
It's the part that nobody remembers.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about a lot of these musicians that are blowing up on TikTok now too, because the TikToks are so short that they're only playing just that one little part of that song. So they're finding that if people do actually show up to their shows, which is a whole other ball game of trying to get people to actually go to your concert and pay tickets and whatever, but they're finding it like festivals and stuff where a lot of these people are, the whole crowd is singing to one little part of that song, and then the rest of it they're just standing there like, I don't know.
I feel like artists have to start getting like they have to start getting brazen again, because like my right now, like my I call it the Gorn is the greatest of right now. Is in the pop world is like Steve Lacy, because he'll just be like, "Do you know the words to the rest of the song? Sing it." And it's just awesome. They'll throw their camera up there and almost beat him. He just goes, he just like, it's awesome. He is from Compton, like, and I respect that immensely. Just I feel like artists have to just start challenging a little bit, because I mean, I have to imagine at least a good chunk of audience, or at least the audience you're gonna want just something, a button pressed at this point. It's just it feels a little safe to not get super like, but it does feel like I want someone to be like, "You don't know my fucking song," and I'll be like, "You're right, I don't. I'm gonna listen to it now though, because you said so." Yeah, I hope it's good. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the recording of this album. That was done during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Now, did you guys do all that yourself?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. How did you go about that?
So initially we did some preliminary mixes with our friend Danny Fetter. He helped me kind of get an idea of what I was trying to listen for in my own voice. When we started doing this album, I had kept my songwriting. I was sharpening my ability to write a song, and I had constantly been practicing and making new ideas and trying to figure out how my voice could project on just a writing perspective. I hadn't sung in about 8 years. So that whole process was essentially me hearing myself, hearing how I used to sing in, say, choir class, versus Mari has been working and not really doing much of the singing for 8 years. Okay. How different that the vocal quality was there. My technique was a little bit like just the muscle memory wasn't there. And I heard he gave me these preliminary mixes to really focus in on what I did and didn't like about how I was recording the vocals. And then I spent the end of the summer, right before starting a new job, because I did not work the entire time I was recording the album. It was like a good 4 months, and I was like,
that was probably the best part to come out of the whole pandemic, was just that break for a lot of people.
Funnily enough, no. This is right around the tail end of the pandemic, where we were going back. Point of note, I never got that break. I was an essential worker. It sucked. It was not great. But it fueled the album. I had that resentment, man. I was like, "Are you gonna make me work
Yep.
while everybody else is playing video games?"
Yep.
I want to play Skyrim, but and then towards the tail end of the summer of 23, I sat down. I went over each song vocally over and over again. Really got myself comfortable with singing these songs, and then funnily enough, when I was recording the album, I was living with my mother still, but I didn't have a room. I was living in the living room, so I would give my sister $5 and be like, "All right, can you go downstairs? I'm gonna record in your room." She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna take the $5."
She made out like a bandit.
Oh, like a bandit! If anyone, she's getting the residuals, man. It's good for her. She's a Suarez. I respect it. And I would just I got Danny Feder also taught me like the easiest way to get yourself like nicely like provision to record like vocals. So I set up my my recording setup, which is a very minimal DIY thing, and I belted them all out within the span of two weeks and started mixing like crazy. And then I finished the mix about like the end of September of 23, and I was like, I'm satisfied with these. What do you think? And Atari loved it. We were like, oh my god, we have like a whole album. We sent it out to our friend Mike Parada. He actually played our first show with us. He was on guitar duties, and he didn't know that we had been recording like an album like with written songs. And I sent him the link. He's just like, "Man, you did not tell me that this was gonna be a whole fucking album of songs that are just songs." And he was like so hype. And God bless him. He's been one of our most vocal supporters, since then. He's like, he told me, he's like, "Dude, one of us has got to make it out of here, and if you don't make it out of here, I swear to God, I'm gonna kick you in the dick so hard."
That's not fair. Motivating. I don't know
dude, it's the friends that really get you there. Yeah. So shout out Mike Parada. Yeah.
Love you, Mike.
Love you, Mike.
So let's get into the actual tracks on the album.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little section we call the breakdown, where we go track by track on an artist's latest release to hear the inspiration and stories behind each song. So this could be about the lyrics, the composition, the recording, or all of it. Whatever you want to share, you think is the most interesting aspect to talk about. So your debut full-length album, Standing on the Verge of Getting Worse, was released on October 31st, 2023, is available now on all major streaming platforms. So let's get into it. The first track is You Have No Idea What You're Doing.
Yeah. I kept the title on that one because the title shifted throughout, because the beats end up being the first thing that was like that came out of this before even like the lyrics. And on there is actually a very short sample of a quote from Burn After Reading, and it's Brad Pitt, and he's like,
it's John Malkovich.
It's John Malkovich, and I don't know who the fuck. Wait, what is it?
I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna run with that. And Burn After Reading is essentially about how like stupid intelligence agencies kind of are, like that whole like the espionage idea. It's like, if you look up the CIA's track record, man, it's not good. It's not good. Like, I'm not even talking like the atrocities either. I'm talking seriously, because there's the when they succeed, it's monstrous, but they fail like 90% of the time. They're like, we put a microphone in a cat. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, we're gonna see if you LSD will make you like psychic, and it's like, haha, I've made this person mute and regressed them to a 3-year-old. It's like, why do you think that was a success? Their assassination attempts, like, anytime someone falls out of a window, they did that shit. Why? Because the guy who wrote the playbook for them wrote like a public book on how to assassinate people. Step 1 is throw them out of a window. It's like, Jesus.
Step 1, throw out of window. Step 2, there is no step 2.
There is no step 2. It's not even cleanup, man. Like,
clearly, Putin read that part.
Oh yeah, he likes that. He can't be contested, They don't. You know,
He gets it done. There's a lot of windows.
oh yeah, plenty of windows. Yeah, you have no idea what you're doing. I guess it was just like lyrically, it was again the great leader and kind of dispelling like the gravitas of him, you know, a little bit.
Never has no clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted it to steadily show how he did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like what they do. And at first they gas you up and, oh, you're the working people. Oh, aren't you so disenfranchised? Like I fucking know, you know?
Right.
And as each verse goes on, you kind of see that he obviously doesn't give a shit, and the idea is to just get everyone kind of swinging on each other. And there was this concept of the room, you know, I'm using all the rules to rattle up the room, you know, and it's like, all you really have to do is know how to spot a technicality and then talk your way into it. That's to a more like recent version of this. This is how I think politics are done, by the way. That Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, I knew Mike wasn't winning. I knew from the get that either he was, because he doesn't have anything to lose.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But also, I knew he had gotten injured. No one looks that up.
Yeah.
He'd gotten injured, badly injured. Like,
yeah, he said he was on the verge of death, like just what 5-6 months ago. So like the fact that he even got in there at all is crazy.
Yeah, that in and of itself. But there was a clip. I don't know if it was from the weigh-in. I didn't actually watch the fight because I knew what we were getting into.
I fell asleep.
A lot of people who tried to watch the fight didn't actually watch it.
I've heard.
Exactly.
Oh man, unfortunate. But I think it might have been the weigh-in, and there was this one reporter. God bless him. He goes up there and he goes, Jake Paul, are you ever going to fight anybody in your weight class or your age, or are you going to keep doing gimmicks? Which is like, that's a great question. That's a genuine question. Last time I watched Jake Paul fight, he fought Ben Askren. The last thing, so watching it, we watched it with Chris Jones. The three things happened when I paid attention to that fight. They got into the ring. Pete Davidson, who was one of the commentators, said, Ben Askren looks like a bag of milk, and then 3 seconds later, Ben Askren was on the floor. And I wish I was exaggerating that. Like, someone find it. Play it back. It might be 8 seconds. It's a great question to ask the fucking guy, and what did he go and do? Jake Paul, he's a master of deception, not for nothing. He goes, did you just call Mike Tyson a gimmick? And of course everyone, oh, because that's what, you know, that's the attention economy now.
Right,
you know, we're back in high school for some reason.
Is he a master of deception, or does he just not know what words are?
Yeah, right.
You know, well,
What are these sounds coming out of your mouth? I don't know.
decide, whichever camera, you decide. And then of course Mike Tyson late to the party because he's old. He's like, what'd you call me? It's like, and of course the reporter's just like, I didn't call you anything. Like, he just straight up, he's just like, dude, no. Like, and I mean, yeah, you know, Jake Paul's got all the money, and everyone will go, oh, well, he has money, and you know, and he gets to, you know, make culture worse as a result. Like, you know, for the fans, I see what you cheer for. I'm sorry, I don't have any apologies.
Well, in keeping with like talking about the album and stuff like that, I think there is a large portion of people in the world who realize, like, well, fame is difficult, so infamy works just as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, it's the, you know, the rise and the rise and the rise of the you know, the great leader. That's basically, you have no idea what you're doing. And you know, it's the rock tune. I was excited when we first started doing that song. I only had the first half of the riff, and I felt like it needed like a breakup for the verses. So it was just a ba ba na 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 ba ba ba, and it was like repeating. I was like, this is repeating a little too much. So I added that like pause in the verses where it's just like one chord just ringing out with like this huge like delay tail on it. I'm really proud of that, and I think the song keeps momentum, which is really what you want in a rock tune. especially nowadays. Yeah, nice little punk rock tune. Has a solo. I got to do guitar solos on my album. That was something I was always excited to do because I've come from like a lot of production for like hip hop artists and stuff, and you don't get to do guitar a lot in that like demographic, especially like New York hip hop, which is most of the people I've ever worked with. So yeah, a sick rock tune. It's killer live. We do it as the closer, and people love that one. That gets people rowdy. And
I get to speak the Malkovich quote, which is always fun for me.
Yeah, nice. He puts his whole back into it. Man. It's awesome. He's normally like very like reserved. Like, yes, I'm Atari Antline, and then he's just like, I don't know who the fuck you are. You have no idea. He just gets full like Macho Man Randy Savage. I'm like, oh, Atari.
The cream of the crop.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
All right. So next we got "Caught Me at a Bad Time."
It's so hard to like come up with something cool to say that the song doesn't already do on its own because it's so atmospheric and it has those like 90s New York drums that I like. Okay. That's a real staple of like my memories from before I moved to Pennsylvania because my dad was huge into like Nas and Biggie. So to have like such like just hard hitting drums, that was really cool with this like kind of it feels like meeting the two worlds that I exist in with like the melodic atmospheric stuff and then these like drums that just smack really hard. Again, more about that great leader, the excuse maker. He's an excuse maker. Deflect. You caught me at a bad time. No, no, I didn't take that folder. No, what are you talking about? And all that kind of stuff. It's a song about deflection. It's a song about refusing to take accountability for your actions. And I just like that it's in a very like sedate kind of hip hop tune. So it really like lulls you into a vibe, and hopefully I like that the choruses when they kick in, that like very like distorted, flanged like guitar line kind of brings you back into focus a little bit. I hope that was what we shot for. It's like now all of a sudden there's this like serrated element to the song that was there as he starts saying this like slogan. That's like the slogan. You caught me at a bad time, right in the middle of a bad mind, and it's like it's rhyming and it's like sloganeering. And I wanted to make sure that I came across as like a bad thing when those guitars kick in. It's like, oh, this sounds a little like, if you catch it, you're like, hey, am I being like pandered to? Yeah, are they trying to brainwash me? Being catchy helps with that because like there's like catchiness and then there's brainwashing, and it's like you have to find like the line between the two. And I like toying with that concept, especially like with pop music and the zeitgeist and what they feed us and what they show us like on any form of media. It's like, is it designed to like for us to be entertained, or is it designed to pacify us? So yeah, I love that song. It was actually a little
one of the first ones we like actually put together.
Yeah. And it instantly I was like, this one's really good. Like we have to play this one. Like this one has to reach somebody. Yeah, big fan of that one. I love playing it live. It's the easiest to play live, surprisingly. It's a lot harder to sing than the other ones because like with most of the other songs, there's either it's like full gas and then there's like a pause where the vocals are a little easier to sing, and then full gas again, pause. With Caught Me at a Bad Time, only the middle section is easy to like just very casually deliver. The rest of it is like in the upper registers of my like vocal range, at least chest voice wise, and I flip into falsetto pretty like instantly towards the end of both choruses. So that was a challenge to record for sure. But I'm very proud of what we accomplished there. Personally, it was really tough to mix. That was where I started realizing maybe sub-range frequencies are hard for me to hear. Like anything below bass that's like supposed to rattle. There's that bass element in the verses that it doesn't actually agree with the drums as easily as you would have thought, because it's such a like deep subby sound, and the drums are a little drier in comparison. So mixing it was a challenge, but I love that song, and it's Chris Jones' favorite.
Okay.
So
I was happy when he told me that, because I'm like, yes, it's my favorite.
he screams it from the mountaintop, man. Like, you're like, God damn it, bad time. Like, please play it when I show up to this. And it's like, all right, we'll play it.
I told him, I'm like, that's my favorite, and then I'm like, I know Gabe's is Rebel, and he's like, that one's good too, but it caught me at a bad time.
Yeah, he'll do it. So, like, yeah, that's good. It caught me at a bad time, though. Like, yeah. I'm very proud of how it came out, though. It's a hell of a tune. I'm hoping to get it some airplay pretty soon, because it deserves it. It's a really cool sound for us, and it definitely has the simplest version of how we make songs, and it would be probably what people would look at when they say like an Atari+Mari type sound. You know, like that would kind of be the best way I'd be able to describe it off rip. Just like comment about time, that's us. Yeah.
Speaking of Rebel, that's up next.
Oh yeah. Rebel is the first full-blown song that I was able to get a good hook for and really start to it was like the first song where everything was coming together so quickly, and like I was figuring out like what I wanted to sing about. It was the moment I was like, all right, now I have to do something with all of these songs now, because it was just it was catchy, and I was like, oh my god, like I wrote this, like, and I remember listening to it, and I have younger siblings exclusively, two of which are teenagers, or were teenagers at the time of recording the album. And I remember my little brother Aiden saying from the original rough instrumental of Rebel, which hasn't really changed all that much since, but he was like, this sounds kind of like a Katy Perry song at first. And I remember having two ways about it, because I mean, are we talking like Imperial Katy Perry? Because I'll take it. Like Teenage Dream, 5 number ones. She's up there with Michael Jackson. That's pretty hard record to beat. The one that got away was number 2. Ironic. But I remember listening to Thriller and being like, I want to make one of those. And lyrically, I was just on the like sloganeering, you know, the great leader. Oh yeah, I'm going to give you all this stuff. Oh my God, yes. And I remember listening intently, and I was remembering a lot of like the cartoons that I watched, or that I watched with my grandfather. And we watched a lot of Looney Tunes, and I can't speak Spanish, and he only speaks Spanish, so our like connection was exclusively through watching stuff on television. And he loved the goofy stuff, and he would watch like the Looney Tunes, and he'd laugh, and he'd point at me, and we'd laugh together. It was great. And one of my favorite Daffy Duck shorts was Yankee Doodle Daffy. It's one where he finds a young talent, and it's this like younger duck that's like this like he's gonna be a hot shot in Hollywood, and he can like sing and do all this stuff, and he's trying to impress him so badly. And he does this like I forget specifically who the singer they're parodying is, but he does this whole like Spanish like cabaret song to try and impress him. He's dressed in like a full like blouse and dress, and like he has a fruit basket on his head, and he sang that song. And I remember like the recurring thing that he goes boo chicka boo chicka boo chicka, and I remember when
that's kind of layered in the background.
Yeah, when the break comes in before the chorus, that little I remember being like boo chicka boo chicka boo, and I don't want to say I would have sampled it anyways, but Yankee Doodle Daffy is public domain. They did not copyright that one. It just so happens that it's my favorite also. And I was like, oh, public domain, bet, we're sampling it. And I threw it in, and I was like, this makes me so happy. This is like exactly what I would have made at any point in my life. Like, this is like the song that would be in my head, like heart, you know? And yeah, the short itself kind of speaks to like, oh, I'm going to impress all of you. I'm going to do all this stuff, even if it's not really necessarily for any good reason or for the betterment of anyone. It's just, I want you to like me so bad that I'll throw someone under the bus. And he throws Porky under the bus constantly in that short. Like, Porky is just getting tortured throughout the entire short, and it's really funny. It just thematically, the lyrics and that sample really hit. I learned how to sample efficiently from peak era Kanye West, because you'll find that during his heyday, I'm talking his heyday his samples always have something to do with the themes of his song. For instance, I'm trying to pull up a good one. There's a Marvin Gaye sample in his song Spaceship from The College Dropout, and that song is about working for the weekend, and Spaceship is about working for the weekend, trying to get out of a dead-end job and actually, basically trying to stay alive until your talent pays off in this avenue no one's listening to you in.
Okay.
And he does that throughout his entire discography up to a certain point. And I remember being like, well, if I'm going to sample something, I don't want it to just sample something because it sounds good. I want it to have something to do with the song. Yeah. And I found that it just hand in glove, those two meshed really well. It's funny, it's entertaining, it's very catchy, and it's upbeat, and it's still about a guy who's being kind of a total prick. Yeah.
All right, next up we have Fire Walk With Me, which it's funny. I had Brianna from Tiger's Jaw a few weeks ago, and she's a huge Twin Peaks fan.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I'm assuming that Twin Peaks was some inspiration there.
No.
Never heard
Just
of it.
Good title.
I watched the first season a long time before writing it, but funnily enough, it kind of all happened by accident. It was just a moment where the song clicked, and I was like, oh my God. But this instrumental was actually the last one that showed up to the party. But it was literally the last of the the instrumentals that was made. And it wasn't necessarily even made for the album, because Atari just makes stuff. If you know anything about Atari, it's that his creative drive is second to none. No one's matching him. He will make something every day until the day he finds another place to make something.
For better or worse.
For better or worse. Good, bad, and ugly. And I remember it was just a really catchy instrumental, and I liked the guitar line. That one was sampled off of Sample Focus, actually. People use it for trap and stuff, but you could honestly use a lot of those melodic loops and re-chop them up and turn them into an actual song, instead of just being I'm going to use this on an 808. I know how the trap trap production works, so people sometimes will see a soul sample and they're like, oh, I'm gonna, instead of enjoying this soul song that's beautiful and oh my God, I've never heard this before, they're like, all right, we're chopping this right now. They just chop it by the fours. All right, we'll just, and it sounds rhythmically great, but it's do you know what the song's about? Because you might want to know what the song is about, who has the royalties, etc.
Right.
Just in case. But everything on that sounded really good to begin with, and I remember having the chorus, and I had the melody. The melody kept cycling, and I took the night off after I had the melody, and I was like, I gotta figure out the words to this melody because it sounds so forlorn. It sounds lost. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so there's so much longing here.
Yeah. And
so I spent the day binging season 2 and the movie Fire Walk With Me, the actual movie, which great movie, fantastic movie. Such a tragic story, and a lot of the lyrical stuff I just pulled from there. I didn't want to get too literal, and I wanted it to stay in the realm of this could be a different situation than just the movie itself. I didn't want it to necessarily be our kung fu fighting,
I remember when you were writing the song, you messaged me, I believe it was late in the night, and it's so what is the phrase Fire Walk With Me mean in the grand context of Twin Peaks? And I'm like, are you asking me the meaning of something David Lynch wrote?
Yeah, right.
You never will.
I also haven't watched the third season yet. I have it. I've already bought it, but I haven't gotten around to like sitting down and actually like watching it because it's like a really big miniseries.
Yeah.
But I just remember, I mean, we were singing about the villain, and I was like, you know what? We could just like throw in like the concept of, at least from what I interpreted from the movie, what I liked about the movie is the show makes it seem like the character who did it, I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it's a great show. The character who did it, it seems like he has a split, like he's possessed, right? And the movie gives it a much more grayer context, and that's like, well, yes, kind of, but also, is there actually just, is it something he's repressing? Is it something that he's actually, there might be just something in him that is inviting this entity to make him do what he's doing.
Right.
So I wanted to toy with the perspective of that, you know? Yeah, I just wanted to get into the head of a really, really, really scary, weird kind of like situation that is. Because I haven't, to this day, I haven't seen anything that like heady and like unusual in terms of like...
and just outright terrifying.
And outright terrifying. Yeah, shoot.
That season finale, oh my god.
Yeah, poor Laura Palmer, man. Like,
Well,
she deserved better. She really did.
Well, I know Twin Peaks has often been described by Lynch and by others as an exploration of the evil that men do.
Yeah.
And I think, in keeping with the whole themes of the album and everything, I think that just sort of created this really good, like, symbiotic connection.
Yeah. It also, I wanted that entity, the presence of this, like, the concept of the evil that men do to show up at this point in the album. Mainly one, because it sounded good, like front to back, the flow of the album sounds great, but also it's the turning point in which we start to see the underbelly of this confidence that this person is like portraying, the concept of the great man, this great fucking person that's gonna just fuck things up because they can. I wanted to flip it to the underbelly and really see a lot of the deeper, even subconscious, like, thought processes that a lot of these people go through. Because I've met a lot of them, and I have a very... Throughout my, like, time working, like, all these jobs and living in residencies and all that stuff, I'm very personable. And I find that most people can get on with me, and I can have a good conversation with pretty much anybody, so long as they're willing to meet me on that. And you can meet some people that maybe you don't necessarily can't condone, and you find that they'll still open up to you because you're not really judging them, you know. And I mean,
Maybe internally.
be cool. Be cool, for the love of God. But like, I've seen some pretty not great people show me the motivations deep down that are making them this person, and it doesn't make me condone them or sometimes even empathize with them, but I can understand.
Yeah,
you know. I read a lot of Berserk, and it's this manga that's been going on forever. And a lot of like the thematic stuff with the villains tends to have that too, where like. And they turn into actual demons, right? And you see, like, the motivation behind why they become what they become, you know, even as the main character has to fucking kill them, you know? So, a lot of that went into the thought process of writing this. I was like, this part of the album is going to be where we see what they really feel deep down when everything's away and it's just them and their own thoughts, you know? It's not applicable to everyone. Some people just don't have a conscience, turns out. But for those who do, you can see a window into what they're really feeling, and they'll deny it, but it's there. And I guess the goal is to not succumb to that and to actually interrogate yourself on that and come out of it with your dark triad in order, situated. This is my darkness. Here's how I can incorporate it into myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next up is How It Be, which is marked as an interlude.
Yeah, it's a short song. It segues well into Fire Walk With Me in that it's just the self-loathing. It's the part where it's unfiltered, just the moment you just can't bear to even look at yourself. It happens to even the best of us, and I just wanted to kind of at least expel my version of that. For that one specifically, I remember being dour, and I tried writing a song to the instrumental, and I felt like it was just too much. Like I was doing too much with it, and I was like, no, I don't. And there was just this mantra that started like appearing in how I was writing this, and it was fitting rhythmically with the song. And I was like, this is kind of how I feel when I'm feeling my worst. And it's like, okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna set it to wax, and I'm gonna remember this. And anytime I'm feeling that way, I'm going to, interrogate myself, which then leads into the next track, But I really liked the instrumental too because it was very synth poppy. We have a shared interest in a lot of the 80s acts that were kind of in that weird like two guys with like machines, like Tears for Fears. Yeah, right. Like Tears for Fears are our fathers, and Soft Cell are our mothers. Okay. Yeah, we really like those guys, and that instrumental sounds like a modernized version of that, at least for me. I really love when those violins come in. That's really cool. That was a really good touch that he put on it. The only thing I really added instrumentally to that one is there is a sub bass in the background that just makes the drums like blast through the speakers a little more. Yeah, and that was kind of cool. I just wanted to add that because I find that a lot of your like more visceral impulses come out when more bass heavy music is playing, especially on a subwoofer. DJing with Chris Jones constantly with a subwoofer. We've seen we DJ'd for friends and like family friends, and we've seen them all get like crunk while we're like doing the hits, and just watching both of them be like, oh my god, I don't want this power. It's too much power, man. I've known you since I was 6. And and it's true. Like bass music itself can really elicit the like baser impulses in you. My favorite was one time me and Chris had to stop abruptly because we had been DJing for too long, and no one stopped partying after we were already putting stuff away. I was like, oh god, we really should have like put some slow jams on towards the end, man. Oh my god.
They got the music in them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But bass can really bring it. Really ties the song together and puts you in that headspace. Hopefully it's seen as like a reflection point if anyone ever like really gloms onto that song. It's not supposed to just be about like, oh, let's feel bad and throw a pity party for ourselves. I do want it to be a mirror more so than like, yeah, we're gonna go be miserable. Sad, sexy partying. I don't really like doing it. It's not my thing. Respect to Lana Del Rey. It's not really my thing entirely. I'll take a nibble.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool.
Next up, we have Phantoms.
So is this technically
that's the first Atari+Mari song ever?
Okay.
Ever.
Do you want me to provide?
Yeah.
So,
by all means,
we were in a movie together.
Oh.
Movie might be a generous word, but we were in something together when I think when I was in community college. Yeah, definitely, because we shot at the community college.
Yeah, we did.
We made a movie about 2 paranormal investigators who basically are investigating a house, but they're both charlatans.
Yeah.
They don't really believe in any of this stuff, and they're just doing it for an easy paycheck. And stuff happens, potentially, at a very gradual pace. And we reached out to a friend at one point, and we were like, hey, we made this movie, and at this point we think it's good, because
we're 19.
We haven't grown up yet.
Yeah.
And so would you want to like help write a song? And then he gave us something. I don't know if we ever really finished it in time to get it into the finished product. But when we were doing this project, Mari came to me and he's like, hey, we still have that song. We reached out to the original songwriter. He was fine with us updating it. Yeah. Shout out to Mike Bornman. We work with a lot of mics.
Yeah, there's a lot of mics in our corner, and it feels good. It feels good. Too many mics. Not enough mics. For that one, Atari actually wrote the lyrics, and because he is one hell of a writer. He will write out like poetry, and then just be like, well, I'm not gonna show anybody that. But he had the lyrics to Phantoms, and Mike Borman. He performed this very like Nirvana, like unplugged kind of arrangement to the song. A lot of those vocal melodies, I didn't change. There was no point. It was such a good song that I kept all that. And I actually did the arrangement. Like I was the main guy for the arrangement this time, the instrumental. And I went a different way with it because the grunge aspect wouldn't have. I didn't feel like it would have fit necessarily with the rest of the songs as well. And also, if we can release Mike Borman's version, I would very much like to do that one day because his version is very good too. So I started thinking about like similar acts to like Tears for Fears and all that, and I was listening to a lot of Kate Bush at the time. And specifically Running Up That Hill, like it went number one, like 30-something years after the fact. Like,
Right.
And it's a good song.
It is.
And I heard that like drum beat, that boom, and I just wanted to like make a version of that was maybe playable on drums. I don't know if I succeeded necessarily. I'm gonna have to ask Rob from Kitchen Teeth to see if he can actually crack that one. But I remember like turning into this more like listening to a lot of female artists that I really respect. So it was Kate Bush, and I was listening to Wise Blood at the time, this independent songwriter. She's fantastic. She makes her music's kind of like Harry Nilsson a little bit, I guess, but like chiller, I guess, because Nilsson liked to party.
Yeah.
But
He did put the lime in the coconut, though. So
yes, he did do that, and that's we thank him.
Credit where credit's due.
And it became this very like 80s alt pop kind of sounding song, and I had this guitar exercise I was doing constantly. I didn't know what to do with it. That boom now, and it was easy to play, and it sounded exactly like what the song needed for what else I had in there, and the chord progression and everything. And it's just about starting to interrogate your motives, you know. It doesn't get very far, and that was intentional. I didn't want to bring resolution to it, mainly because the character in question doesn't deserve it necessarily. But it's a song about beginning to interrogate your motivations.
Okay.
And still kind of coming up short and being a bit mopey about it, but you're starting. It's a start. Yeah.
And funny story about that one is it's my dad's favorite song.
It's my dad's favorite song too.
And he said to me, I don't know if it's just that the song is that good or that I've seen the movie, and the delta from the movie to the song is like just so impressive.
Shout out Mr. Spence. That's awesome.
So it's dad rock then.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Give us a few years, we'll be in our yacht rock era. So.
Yeah, it'll be sick. Oh, I can't wait for that. I mean, we have to do something cool with that, right?
Night Chills is up next.
That's my mom's favorite song. I wish I was joking.
There's tension in the household over that. Actually.
What can I say about that one? That one's a very interesting one because that one actually is another song where Atari had a concept for this like short story, a short film actually, right?
Yeah, fifth short feature, somewhere.
And
I'll write it one day. We'll see how far it gets.
It was the tale of it was a revenge tale, classic revenge tale. And again, going off of like Kate Bush. Kate Bush has a really great tendency of like burying the lead, and like by the time the song's over, you know what the song's about. But like beforehand, you're kind of like, okay, I don't know necessarily what's going on yet, but like it's sounding good.
Yeah.
And, for that song specifically, I drew upon the vibes of the song "Mother Stands for Comfort" off of Hounds of Love, and that song sounds like it's going to be about like maternal protection and this comfort you have with a maternal figure, and then it turns out that your mom's hiding the body under the floorboards with you, and it's like, oh fuck. And it's just she sings it so smoothly, it sounds so pretty, and you're like, oh my god, I love this melody, and you're like, wait, I'm sorry, did she kill somebody? Oh my god. So yeah, there's a little murder in this one. Yeah, just a standard revenge tale, but also conceptual. I wanted it to have. I wanted the buyer's remorse to be very clear. Like, revenge, especially like cathartic revenge, isn't necessarily the answer to like your problems always, and sometimes it can make matters much worse. At least I've read some things here and there about it. I'm not necessarily a psychologist, so, but just a song about somebody who really wants to get revenge. And key figure about it is the person that has wronged her in question, the person she cares about, is someone who is would be revered in a traditional community. So it's a pastor, and figures like that, they get an elevated status, at least in traditional, society. And can get away with some pretty gruesome things as a result. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, for sure.
So I just wanted to give the side of the person afflicted and their actions trying to correct it, and how they might have gone wrong in the attempt. And I wanted it to be clear, though, when I wrote it, that she the main character, the subject of the story, she's not the villain of the story. She's just unfortunately misguided and in a lot of pain and sought catharsis. It's more of a tragedy than it is like, don't do that. Oh, look at this person, this Joker. Like it is on the first part of the album where this is more pointed and more like we're making fun of them. In this case, it's more empathetic, and it's more like, that's really unfortunate, Love the sub bass on that. Inspired by "Swimming Pools Drank" by Kendrick Lamar.
Okay,
it's a good sound. That like big chorusy sub bass sound. It's awesome. It's cool. It was fun to work with. It was actually very easy to mix, which was cool. Yeah, I really love that one. Hopefully we will get around to making maybe a short film based around that, now that we have the song and some of the motivations are clear, and that story has kind of been a little more fleshed out for us. So I would like to do that as a project sometime in the future. That would be kind of cool.
And we'll definitely talk about the mixed media part of what you guys do too. So let's get through these. The Sun Will Rise Again is next.
Optimism.
That song actually, without getting too far into it, with some things that have happened recently, like that song has been something that I've been listening to a lot out of our own catalog lately, just to be this reminder of it is sort of this mix of there is the optimism there, but there's also the very dark undercurrent of the world we live in. It starts off with one of the darkest moments in human history with the Oppenheimer quote. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we were working on it, because I put that in, and Mari's like, is this too much? Is this something we should really...
The guy went on TV and apologized for creating the end of the world. It's that's rough. That's so rough.
Yeah.
It's
it was basically, I was the one who was no, this is something that we can speak to, and that we can work with, in this thought of dark things will happen, but eventually the sun will rise again, and I think there's different ways you could sort of interpret that of well, is the sun really rising, or is there something else on the horizon that's fast approaching?
It's ultimately standing resolute, and at the very least not giving up on yourself in spite of all these kind of just awful things happening, and all the things that people are allowed to get away with, especially big figures, where you'd like to imagine that we're putting up the best people in terms of representing who we are, and then they stab us in the back, and they promote selfishness, and they promote regressive behavior, and it's just, hey, we're going to get through this together, and I'm going to keep believing that we can do this, you know. And there's also I like to humanize that perspective by saying catch a bag, reprise the trend. So it's not just, hey, I believe in the future. It's also like, yeah, we're gonna get some money too. We're gonna have a good time. You know, we're gonna get up and we're gonna go out and we're gonna live our lives and we're gonna make this better eventually. You know, I wanted to do the opposite of waiting on the world to change. Because it's a good song for what it's worth, but it is also like, we keep on waiting. Like, okay, all right, we're done waiting. We're done waiting now. The waiting is over. The whole time is over.
Right.
We can start talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good song. We enjoy playing it live. Fun fact about the Oppenheimer quote. I watched Oppenheimer. I only watched half of Oppenheimer. It was a very long movie.
So you watched Halfenheimer.
Halfenheimer. And I found it funny that when they use that quote, it's the scene where Oppenheimer's getting laid. Dude, it was so, like, I was like, oh, okay, all right, you're gonna throw that scene. This is one of the most important quotes of the 20th century.
Yep. And
we're just gonna throw some boobs there too. You know, we're just gonna have a little. Good for him. I don't believe he came up with the quote while he was getting laid. Like, come on. But, all right, Christopher
Just in the middle
Nolan.
of the act, like, I've got a great idea for a speech.
Yeah, like, you know. Yeah. I'm glad we kept the quote in also. We had the idea for the quote before the movie was out, by the way. We didn't just like, oh my God, we have to make a song about Oppenheimer. Like, no. Otherwise, we would have done Barbie too.
That keeps happening to us. Like I sampled Twilight Zone by Golden Earring in a song recently for not for Atari+Mari, but for a different project. And then I go and I see Godzilla X Kong, whatever that one was called, and they have Twilight Zone in there, and I'm like, no one is gonna believe me that I did this before I saw this movie.
We are very ahead of our time and slow to actually prove it. Chris Jones and I were ahead of the Jersey Club epidemic that came out where everyone was listening to Jersey Club. We were like a good year ahead of it. Like our only song that we have as a DJ duo is a Jersey Club remix of the Macarena. It's sick though. It goes hard. It does go hard. But yeah, Atari tends to be ahead of the curve in terms of like this is gonna be such a good idea. We're gonna use this song and we'll like interpolate it and it'll be great. And then someone else does it worse and he's like, no. I had that with One More Time by Daft Punk.
Okay.
I was gonna sample it for actually an Atari+Mari song, but now I have to kind of. You'll never find out which one because I'm going to do a good job covering my tracks. But then Drake sampled it and it was awful. Oh, dude,
Unthinkable.
They take the sample and they just like put it over a beat and that's it. And you're like, oh, you could have done so much more with that. No.
Next up, we've got The Moon's Still There, though.
That's sort of the flip side of the coin of like the sun will rise again, but the moon is still there. Sort of the duality of like, through the good times, there will still always be the bad. And not that that's anything to get like upset about, but just to know that it's something that will happen and to like carry on through that.
Yeah. It's, when I was getting the finer details of that song together, I was just reminded of a breakup I had gone through. And the person I was with, unfortunately, really couldn't see a lot of the finer details of my economic status and my social status and a lot of the she couldn't see racism. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Couldn't see it at all. It was like, oh, he was mean for no reason. Like, yeah, no reason. And some of that is the journey of my thought process of. Some of it was me being the problem and that I'm already freaking out about even bigger socio-political issues that I know are going to bite us like well in advance. And I was right, by the way. This is a breakup I pulled from like 10 years ago. And it's just a journey of somebody realizing that they can't take the person that they love with them without them suffering consequences. And so they decide to let go. And, you know, that... happens to a lot of people, I feel like, where it's just like you're never really going to understand, and I don't want to pull you into it because you can get out of this before this gets worse, you know? And on the flip side of the coin, I do think I like that we made the instrumental a lot chiller. I actually I was the one who programmed the drums on this one, because he originally Atari had like a more like kind of 4 on the floor 80s beat to it, and I slowed it down a little bit more on this one, and we added drums that were a little more Afrobeat kind of inspired. I wanted something like calmly rhythmical. Big fan of Afrobeat, by the way. It's great sounds coming out of that whole like genre. It reminded me melodically. It reminded me of that. There's a haiku that the Buddha wrote, and he says, and essentially he details the fact that everything of his has been stolen. He says, well, what will there be left for me? And he's left a pail with water, and in the pail is, oh, look, the moon. The moon's left to me. You know? And the calmness of that kind of brought that to light for me. So even though a lot of the song is detailing this kind of rocky relationship with how rough things are, I wanted to make sure it wasn't entirely as mopey as, say, How It Be is. With the moon is still there, though. It's more of trying to be empathetic through the hard times, and unfortunately coming up short and deciding to separate yourself so that you don't cause more damage, and vice versa.
All right, and next we have Through an Oasis, which is also an interlude.
Yeah. I remember very distinctly during the recording process, because we didn't have the entire track list totally figured out yet. I remember being like, we really need to get this into the positivity pretty soon. We have to get to a point where we're starting to get at least some resolution, especially for the latter half, where it isn't really about like the dickheads of the world. This is about us. So Through an Oasis is the moment. In Phantoms, one of the final stanzas is fall into a desert dream, show me exactly what I've been trying to flee. And that desert dream is the moment where you stop seeing the inherent like resources around you. That moment where you start to feel like everything is hopeful, even when there's opportunity. For Through an Oasis, it's the moment where you start to realize, well, no, hold on, the resources. Oh my God, like I have water. There's water right here. And now all of a sudden, oh my God, I can take a drink, and I can recoup myself, and I'm and thoughts have separated. Who knew inspiration would feel so good? Is the first part of that chorus, that little hook that we have there. And for me, the Oasis was the inspiration in doing the music. When I finally had the words to Through an Oasis, it was one of the latter ones that we'd finally like gotten figured out. I had realized how much making the album had meant to me, and how much better I had felt actually writing and getting these songs realized. I was like, I feel good. I feel more realized than I have grinding my life away at these jobs because I have to, and it was the moment I was showing some gratitude towards this art, because it's the only thing that has ever truly given me any solace or any comfort or any company 100% of the time. And it's just sharing gratitude in our songs and the ability and our perseverance through all of it, that if you keep going, okay, there's an oasis, we're not out of it, but this is a moment where we can enjoy, we can sit back and have a good time. And as a result, the instrumental is a little looser in terms of like, it's not as tight in terms of like what's going on in it. Like the first half has some 80s drums, and then the second chorus has this like Kanye West Stronger type beat that slaps. And at first I was like, does it fit? And then I was like, no, I like it. I don't care. I don't care. It sounds cool as hell, So Through an Oasis is that moment, the interlude, where it's kind of a flip side of, with How It Be, you've lost your gratitude and you're not expressing your gratitudes, and you're just completely, I can't even look at myself. And Through an Oasis is like, this is pretty good. This, we're gonna make it. We're all right. It's good.
And we have Sea Change.
Sea Change is really near and dear to me. Sea Change is a song that I had demoed out before we decided to do Atari+Mari, and it's the only song I had fully completed before we did any of this, and I'd written it right as the pandemic was really heating up. And it was I'd written it based off of a dear friend of mine who had gotten out of a really, really bad relationship, and it is mainly about that to a degree, and I do feel like thematically it still does resonate with the rest of the themes of the latter half of the album, in that you're finally shaking free of the people that are trying to make your life worse and trying to use you and treat you like a resource. And, you know, the analogy for an abusive relationship I felt fit, and I just wanted it to feel like that relief and that moment where you're really escaping, you're finally out. You're finally freeing yourself from this. And it's rocky, and a lot of people that have to go through that, they do a lot to get out of those situations because they're put through a lot while they're in them. And I wanted to try and instrumentally with the guitar, which is my first instrument. I wanted to communicate with the guitar without too many effects. I wanted to communicate that like rocky, near like jarring experience of finally freeing yourself from something so toxic and so abusive and painful, you know, something that alters you so exponentially. Yeah. And I'm very proud of that song as a result. It sits dear in my heart because I just believe that everybody can make it out of it, and it requires a lot of fortitude, and it requires everybody else to really step in and just look out for each other. I love playing it. It's a good time.
I feel like I've heard the term sea change a lot more since we made that song than ever before. Like, I just hear it come up all the time now, and I'm like, they know.
Hopefully they take a cue or two. I'd like to think. Yeah.
All right, and last one is Keep On Moving, which kind of fits that theme, really.
Yeah, by the end of all of this and all of the stuff we covered on the album and the journey of watching somebody take over, of watching their worst decisions influence everyone, and everyone recoiling and trying to figure out how to escape it, Keep Moving is kind of the final send-off of like, all right, well, we know what's going on now. Stay vigilant. Start moving, start planning, start assembling community, start looking out for each other, because it's easy to deceive somebody. It is much harder to stand up for somebody, especially people you barely know. You know, people I've seen so many times people take the option of silence, and when they know that something unjust is happening, they know that they have the key piece of information that exonerates someone who's innocent, or they know that someone's been getting a bad shake, you know. It's essentially just a very brief and not very detailed call to remember that there will always be someone trying to manipulate the energy within all of us. That's what people want out of you. They want your innate resilience. At least people who don't know how to think about anybody but themselves, you know. It's a weeping and a moaning and a gnashing of the teeth. They wait for us to fall asleep. Is verse 2, I believe. And it's just a matter of a huge flash in the pan and distraction. And they'll get you, and they'll wait for you to shut your brain off, and they'll flip the table on you, and they'll put you in a position that you didn't want to be in, and you never would have in your right mind allowed yourself to be put into. And it's just stay vigilant, just straight up, you know.
And I think that song has probably one of my favorite lyrical choices from you in the entire album, in that it starts off with, they're saying them's the brakes like they ever drove before, and just I don't know. I don't entirely know if this was intentional.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah, okay,
Boris
good,
Johnson.
Good.
The fucking prime minister in the UK. He's getting kicked out of office. He's like, them's the breaks. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean them's the breaks? Are you serious? That's all you got.
Doing this job.
You know what? I will never give Richard Nixon any credit in the universe, but he at least cried when he fucked up and failed and got ousted. You know, he fucking wept on television. You know?
Yeah.
Now it's like, fuck it, I guess, right? It's like, no, I'm dying over here. What are you
I
talking
kind of
about?
fucked up, but yeah, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
You can find me down at the pub.
Can't make a couple omelets without breaking a few eggs. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. You sold us out so badly and you're just gonna walk away scot-free? Like, no. You stay awake, everyone. Like, they're selling you fucking lies. It's just how it is. You have to make your own calls. Like, nobody's gonna get us out of this. That's one thing, making the album and living life throughout, especially the pandemic, is no one's getting us out of this shit. We are getting ourselves out of this shit. No one could promise you there's no paradise they could give you to get you out of this fucking situation. It's all up to us and what we decide to actually fucking tolerate and what we decide is going to be good for the future. And even just now, like, come on, man. No, I don't want Elon Musk to have an extra fucking $quadrillion. He seems like a dick. I don't even know that much about him. He just seems like an asshole, you know? No, I'm good. I would like
Musk about him.
the sun will rise again. Billionaires are racing to be the king of space, while I just want a place with a decent view. It's like, all right, they have all the money. Can I at least fucking have something? Anything. Just something that I could just chill, have a good time, maybe raise a family if that's what I'm into in fucking 5 years. You know?
If a house is too much, I'll settle for a tent.
Yeah, right. Oh my god. But yeah, I just find it it's just a lot of hypocrisy, and it's hard to just sit there and be like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't care. It's like, no, after a while it's like, all right, you guys aren't going to do anything for me. What the fuck are we doing here?
Sadly, it's you know, this came out last year, and it's just becoming more relevant.
Yeah, we did not intend for
No, fuck no, Jesus Christ.
To be a
I was
title.
hoping this was going to be a eulogy for these times. I was like, yeah, next album's going to be like, we're going to do like freaking Oingo Boingo. Like, it was going to be awesome.
Album 2 is tentatively titled Shit's Fuck, man.
Yeah, like, standing on the verge of getting worse, and well, you jumped, didn't you? Like, you fucking Jesus. But I really hope
the bank took everything.
the bank took everything. Like, I was really hoping it would be like a eulogy for those times. Personally, I was hoping that we were going to enter a period of, hey, all right, maybe we do have to put the legwork in, and they did a lot of work to really numb everybody, and more specifically, the people who are already on the wavelength I want to push out. They did a good job of scattering them, and that's GG. I will give them that much. They played a great game of deception. They played some of the dirtiest ball I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, good luck, everyone. Fucking good luck. Let's see how it goes in fucking 2 years. I called it. I'm just saying, I called it.
I want to mention the album cover as well. I'll put that up on the screen so people can see it there. But who did this? Who did the artwork on this?
A little bit on both of us.
It was kind of a joint effort.
Yeah, nice.
At first, the tentative title for the album was, I think it was Things Are Bad and They're Going to Get Worse. And I was like, it sounded like that one, what was the Spinal Tap, where the guy goes solo, and it's just like, we started to have real questions about what was going on with him when he said, this is it now, or whatever it was, where he was in the grave on the album cover. So I'm a huge fan of Funkadelic. I love George Clinton. He's awesome. And he has an album called, Funkadelic has an album called Standing on the Verge of Getting It On. And so I wanted to kind of like combine those two things, kind of. So I wanted to keep the getting worse aspect of it, but I wanted it to be a little more up to interpretation on whether it will get worse, as opposed to, hey, maybe we can take a step back. And so I kept envisioning us on a rooftop, just looking out over, like, just an absolute fucking shit show, right? And that kept showing up in my head, but I'm not great at drawing buildings necessarily, like the windows and all those like particulars. And I didn't know what we were looking at in terms of like what we would be looking at surveying. And so Atari drew a lot of like the mayhem that was going on the album cover, and there was a desert in the background that's slowly encroaching upon this last bastion of society, you know. And I had the idea to put like a face on the dunes through the sand dots, and it's in mortal agony. And yeah, it was a joint effort. It was really cool. It was cool to see it come together. I was glad both of us got to contribute artistically, like drawing wise, because we both have really cool, like fun, like quirks in how we draw stuff and like the cool ideas that pop up in our heads. I actually want to do a lot more of those, like little, like the creatures that are at the bottom in the city, like terrorizing the city. I want to do a couple of those as like stickers because they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool album cover. And yeah, we're really proud of it.
So, should we play the new song since we've been talking about all of the stuff that you put out last
previously
year?
On Dragon Ball?
Yes.
If you want to do the song now?
Yeah.
And then we'll chat about it, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
All right. So here is the premiere of the new song, "The Wind Screams Lonely."
Trapped in myself, I know
And we are back. So you want to tell us anything about this song? Now, I saw that it ties into a film called Frozen Run. So what's that all about?
So Frozen Run is a movie that I shot with some friends all the way back in 2017. That's how long I've been working on this.
Oh, wow.
We just had a little bit of time between community college and I went to university in Temple in Philly. So I had a little bit of time. We had 2 weeks to shoot this. We got it done. And it's basically a story about consequence and those who try to escape consequence. And so when the time came, it's like, hey, we're wrapping this up. We finally want to get it out there. I went to Mari and I was like, so here are the themes of the movie, and I let him watch it. And just here's a track I made for it, write your heart out to it. And he made something that I think really fits with the story, really sort of speaks to several of the characters, and I think really captured everything very nicely. And I'm very honored to have it at the end of the movie. I think it's a great finishing touch, and we should have the movie out very soon so people can finally see what I've been working on and just talking about for the past. This is my opportunity to prove I'm not insane, that I actually did this. I didn't just make this up in my head.
Yeah, this movie's been like his girlfriend from Canada. So he finally gets to prove that she's very much real.
It's the culmination of a many-year-long arc.
So the single comes out this Friday, November 22nd.
Oh, yeah.
And that on streaming, all major streaming platforms, all that stuff. And then the music video comes out that day, or does that come out?
We're still kind of assembling the music video, because we're gonna be doing basically like when they do a music video for a tie-in for a movie.
Yeah.
So we're gonna cut up the movie.
Okay.
And make a music video version of that. We're excited to get that out. So we're still in the process of getting it kind of tied away, but it will be done before the movie is out.
Okay.
I know that much.
So then the film, and that you said that's December 13th. Is that the?
Yes. That's I've fully committed to.
That's the date.
I need a deadline, so. Yes, and that will be on at least Amazon. I'm also going to see if I can put it up on my personal website. I'll do a big post with the ways to watch it, but it will be out very soon.
Yep, it'll be on the Atari. We'll post on Atari+Mari as well. Make sure that the fans give that at least a watch, because it's shot so nicely. It's a very good tale. I enjoyed the the themes of the movie, and it's definitely out there. It's nice. It's very much it's different than a lot of the stuff that I've watched recently. Kind of in concert a little bit with you can see a little bit of the Lynchian inspiration though, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a high compliment.
So,
I'm gonna start talking like David Lynch just to seal the deal. Just a lot of this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mari.
Oh man.
So the a lot of what you guys do with your live show has to do with kind of mixing media and maybe projecting things on a screen, or showing things, or mixing stuff together in terms of what people can find on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's some animated type music videos. There's one in particular. I'm a huge silent film fan, so I love that you guys play with Metropolis.
Oh yeah,
it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Same here.
So it's very cool to see what your take is by taking your music and cutting the film with the music and things like that. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of mixed media to this project?
I mean, we're both huge children of mixed media, we watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and a lot of what we bonded on were shared media experiences. I was a Cartoon Network kid growing up. I loved those early Cartoon Network shows, and he was a big fan of those. So we'd quote those at each other all the time in high school, and we still do, not for nothing. And just media in general helped shape our worldviews. I personally have like a hypothesis, not a hypothesis, but it feels like a lot of the stuff that we watched when we were kids was made by people who wanted to do the most with the mediums they were working with. A lot of the cartoons from Cartoon Network are such like super idiosyncratic like cartoons. Like Ed and Eddie, no one else could make that show.
Yep.
It's so like the animation's so unique in the sense of humor. Like no one's captured it since.
Yep.
You know? Or Courage the Cowardly Dog. I mean, I single-handedly blame that and maybe Superman for like teaching me empathy. You know?
Yep.
But even films, specifically Metropolis, something that I really enjoyed about Atari cutting that up was the tale of Metropolis and Fritz Lang, the filmmaker. He made that film out of an extremely idealistic pursuit, and obviously he wanted to make a cool movie, so there's that too. But
sure,
he had a great deal of idealism and belief in the future and open-heartedness in the message of that film. And unfortunately, it was co-opted by the Nazi Party. And he was very anti-Nazi, and he fled Germany, and he eventually I pull grief out of grief. He kind of distanced himself from the film because it became such a propaganda piece, despite the fact that wasn't its intended origin. And it made me feel for the guy, and it made me feel kind of like maybe like trying to maybe reform it. And I mean, not that we need to do that for it to be one of the greatest films of all time, because it always will be that, but there's something to be said about people who have the best intentions and are just caught in maybe the worst times. And also the movie just fit really well, and it looks good.
Yeah.
With the
helps that it's public domain.
And it helps that it's public domain, baby. Oh, we love public domain.
We are fans. We stand the public domain.
We stand the public domain. God, I don't know what we're going to do with Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie, but it's going to be awesome.
He's the third member of the band.
Yeah, he's the third member of the band. Yeah,
Atari+Mari
and Steamboat Willie. Yeah. But we just enjoy a lot of these. To mix up media is to engage in all forms of art, and all forms of art are valid. If we can figure out poetry, God knows we will be doing some form of poetry. You know, we might do it like Pulp, where they just have like a song where they're like all like firing off like a nice like instrumental, and then Jarvis Cocker comes out and he's just like singing the story of like seductive Barry, but he's like telling it as a poem. Deep cut. Pulp are awesome. Everyone should listen to Pulp. Yeah, it's an appreciation for all mediums of art. I think we were able to do a lot with even just public domain footage. It was very easy to convey the themes of each song and really flesh out what we were doing. It was also a good way to flex our other skills, because we are musicians, and that's really cool, and we enjoy that a whole lot. We're also really good with cameras. We're also really good at editing. So why not flex all of it if you can, you know?
Sure.
In terms of live, what's really cool is we go minimalist. So a lot of how Atari does stuff, like Atari is very much like in the vein of like a classic hip hop like beat maker, in that he'll pull elements that he likes and he'll chop them up and then like resample them, and then like he'll turn like a drum break into like a totally different like type of shuffle, you know. And I didn't really see a point in trying to fight to find band members to outright recreate these songs that were created on like MPC pads and Ableton and FL Studio and all this stuff that we really like, made in the vein of hip hop. I mean, it's very hip hop how we did all of this. I have nothing but respect for some of the greatest producers of all time. A lot of them are hip hop, and a lot of the people who dictate what is in right now are hip hop producers. I mean, Dr. Dre got to do a whole Super Bowl show, you know?
Right.
And Jay-Z decides who does the Super Bowl halftime show. Like Jay-Z gets to decide that whole thing. That's really cool. Excited for Kendrick Lamar. So I got an SP404. I found it used. It was in great condition, and we just set to recreating what we did on the pads on a MIDI and assembled in a DAW. And we wanted to recreate it live, and so we have everything kind of looped out in a way that fits the song structures. And then I'll just show up with some guitar and kind of shred. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's a lot of fun. I love playing guitar. Playing guitar like as part of a group and being able to convey these songs. It reminds me of when I first got the guitar. If anyone's seen me at the V Spot or the Keystone or wherever else I've played, I only have one guitar. It is a Fender Stratocaster, American Standard Stratocaster from 2011. It's the only guitar I feel I need. I like other guitars. Don't get me wrong, I get window shopping envy, but like, it's the only one I need. And I remember when I was gifted it for Christmas. I remember my father looking to my mom, not thinking I was listening, and he said, "That's the guitar he's going to do it with. That's the guitar he's gonna do this all with." And he was right. I mean, a Stratocaster sounds so awesome. It just sounds beautiful. Yeah. No matter how you shake it, you know. It sounds good even unseasoned, you know, because I hardly ever show up with anything, and your sound system normally, like, makes it sound real good. So,
well, thank you.
It's good to do that. It's good to jam out. It's fun to see how he improvises with the loops, because he can get kind of sick nasty with them, like re-chop it on the fly, and you're like, whoa, all right, feeling spicy today, Atari. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoy the live experience. We're always looking for like new shows, any shows that we can like be a part of, and then hopefully pretty soon we'll start hosting them too. We'd like to get some people on the lineup and maybe throw some shows. We have to find venues though, where that maybe isn't our strongest.
Well, I was gonna say it's tough for any, you know, I mean, not that you're new per se, but new to getting out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to, you know, find venues that are like, yeah, 100% do all your original stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, do what you want to do. Especially, you know, if you happen to be triangle people, they might be like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of an entry gap for sure. It's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. You know, it might be the one. I wouldn't say it's a weakness, because I genuinely believe in our songs, and I mean, covers are cool, but like eventually, I don't really want to sing somebody else's song forever. You know, it can be fun from time to time, or if you're honoring somebody, but you know, I believe in my songs. You know, me and Atari made some good shit. You know, we'd like to perform that.
You guys had an interesting opportunity too to play at a drive-in.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was fun.
That was a good time.
Yeah, tell us about how did that work?
Well, we did find out an interesting thing that we need to consider for future outdoor shows. It turns out when the sun is shining directly on you, one, it's very hot, and two, it makes it hard to see the buttons on the drum machine light up, so you know you're playing them. Thankfully, we had like headphones and stuff, so we knew what we were doing. But like that was one thing where I'm just like, huh? Oh no!
Yeah, that was
a very fun venue.
We're friends with the band Kitchen Teeth. They're really cool dudes, and Rob, who is the drummer, he came up to us. We did a show for the Summits video release party a couple months ago, and shout out to Summits. Summits are cool too. They came up to us and they were like, "Hey, we need like an extra band because they're doing this thing." They asked us if we knew anybody, and we kind of really dig your style. And so he put us through, and we got in contact with our guy Assad, and he was running this fledgling festival called Fright Night. And he wanted a couple bands, and we played during the day. They had a couple like actors in like costumes walking around, and a bunch of vendors, and we had a little stage, and we got to just play, which was a really cool experience. We actually got to bring out a sound system, Chris's sound system, we got to use that for our live setting, and it worked phenomenally, which was really cool. Also, it handled the Atari+Mari live experience very nicely, and we had a good time. People showed love, and it was a very, very cool experience, and we're happy we were allowed to partake in it.
And we got to keep some pumpkins as we left.
We got to take some pumpkins. Yeah, it was cool. I had an outside decoration for my apartment. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it was just a pumpkin, but you know.
And this was at the Garden Drive-In in Hunlock Creek.
Hunlock Creek, yes. Yeah, that was cool.
The Fright Night Festival.
Yeah, they played Monster House, which is the best Halloween film for kids.
Yeah, that was good.
It's all so good. It's awesome. He the one character tries to shoot a 3-pointer, it rebounds and hits him in the face. And he's like, my nose is in my brain. Like they talk like kids, and that's really funny. Like they sound like us when we were teenagers. So yeah, it's a great movie. Dan Harmon wrote that. Rick and Morty and Community. He wrote that.
Okay,
so that was pretty cool
makes
to
sense.
find out. Yeah, totally.
I grew up not knowing Steve Buscemi played the old guy in that movie, and then I rewatched it recently. I'm like, how did I not know that?
It's a very Steve Buscemi performance.
He was recently Starscream in Transformers 1. Very good, by the way.
Yeah,
I still have to watch
I've heard that's good. I really
I
want to check
was
that out.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Especially with how I don't know, outrightly terrible the Michael Bay movies are. You know, the first one I guess was at least entertaining.
Yeah.
You know,
The second one was partially shot in Allentown, and you could tell right away. Like, yeah, no, that's the steel stacks.
Yep. Yeah, I watched Transformers with like Schadenfreude. Like the second one's not very good, and it's not really fun to watch outside of like they gave a Transformer balls. Like, why? Why did they do that? They had two of the Autobots voiced by SpongeBob, but they were fake gangsters, and they were like, I can't read. Like, oh boy. 3, the Decepticons take over, and they start like taking POWs, and it's like a real war movie, except for with kids' toys.
Yeah.
And they start executing people. You're like, oh my god, why is this so gruesome all of a sudden?
I saw 4 in a theater, and it might be the most I have ever been like confused, laughing because something was intentionally funny, but just because I'm like, why is he's just drinking a warm Bud Light in the street? He just cracked it on a door and punched a guy.
Fucking Marky Mark, boy. Like he just.
And then, despite like everything being at 100 miles an hour, I still managed to fall asleep within like the last 15 minutes.
No idea what's 4. I have no idea what's going on. Like the dinosaurs show up, and I'm like, all right, I guess this is what I'm here for.
Mark Wahlberg's like, if I could figure out a way to apply this technology to my inventions, that could be a game changer. It's like
They never use it again. They never touch that again. Not once. In that whole movie, there's never like a moment where he's like, oh, no, it doesn't come up. He drinks a warm Bud Light, and then he goes and tries to save his daughter.
His job is he's an inventor.
because you know, if you think inventor, the casting choice there is definitely Marky Mark.
Them good vibrations.
T.J. Miller's a terrible character, and we spent the whole start of the movie going, this guy sucks. I hate this guy. I wish he would go away. And then he dies brutally.
Just kill him.
And then he gets replaced by someone even worse.
Yeah.
As you know, most of these things just seem to be shot either without a script or just, you know, half of a script, and they just kind of make it up as they go.
Yeah, Michael Bay failed upwards.
Yeah.
He can shoot perfume like a motherfucker.
By the fifth one, they're like, Bumblebee killed Nazis. King Arthur's real. Dragons.
Right? Yeah, just throw anything at the wall. So it's nice to see that they have. I've heard that the animated film is much, much better. And then, of course, nobody saw it.
Yeah.
So then they probably won't make any more now.
Them's the breaks.
Well, that's
the breaks.
The way I always judge, because I've been a nerd my whole life, the way I judge if something is truly good, not just like good for being a nerd property, is if I show it to my girlfriend and she's like, oh, I enjoyed that, because she didn't grow up like with any of this stuff. So if she just watches it and just enjoys it, like that's like, okay, it was actually something good there. Like, love Spider-Verse. It's like, that's how I know Spider-Verse is like a great movie.
Yeah. That was a pleasant surprise.
Oh, yeah. There's some stuff showing up. They might be announcing the third one soon, like its actual release date.
Fingers crossed. People really hated that cliffhanger. I was like, they finished the main theme of the movie. They're just doing a little extra, you know? I was okay with it.
Exactly.
I was fucking with it.
Yeah, I love that ending. That's a great ending.
All right. I know this is like getting off topic, but I really hate the discourse. I don't normally like do Twitter discourse or anything, but it's so
Sorry,
prevalent.
you mean X, the everything app.
I don't want to talk about it. I hate the Miles Morales discourse of like, oh, I'm gonna go see the Miles Morales movie. You know what they're saying? Like, oh, he's not Spider-Man.
Right.
It's fucking stupid. And my favorite part of that is the twist. Anyone who didn't watch it, just tune me out. Is that it's not that Miles wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. It's just this Miles wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, thank God, because I really wasn't ready to have a whole like 10 years worth of discourse of, oh, Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man. It's fucking annoying. It's so annoying. For no reason. There's no reason for it. The guy's Spider-Man. Just, come on.
Well, there's, and I think this ties into some of the things, the frustrations we have and why we create stuff, is there's an alarming amount of people in the world today who I don't think understand what a story is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that these things are not real. They are meant to be vehicles to express something.
Yes.
It's not like when people are like, they watch a Star Wars movie and they're like, that wouldn't really happen. It's like, none of this would happen.
Oh my God. Trying to explain the logics of a Star Destroyer. It's like, dude, it's not real.
Right.
It's not real. Imaginary. George Lucas made it up. He said there was no underwear in space. I'm serious. Carrie Fisher said that shit. You're like, George Lucas came up to me. He said, "There's no underwear in space." And he said it like as if he had actually been there. You know, like it's just made up.
Well, back to David Lynch. Have you ever heard the story of David Lynch meeting with George Lucas? Where he's like, he was driving really low in his car. I don't think he could see over the wheel. And it's not that I don't like salad, but he took me to a restaurant where all they served was salad.
Oh, dude.
He started explaining what a Wookiee was, and I started to get a headache.
Yeah, like, it's all made up, man. You know? Like, don't get me wrong, like, escapism is cool, but, like, I don't know, like, Optimus Prime isn't a real person. Like, Optimus Prime isn't Martin Luther King. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Martin Luther King existed and did something real in the real world. Like, as much as I like Optimus Prime and what, like, people wrote for him and, like, what he represents, like, he's still a robot that can turn into a truck.
Yes.
I'm going to turn into a truck now.
Come on, man. Let's stop debating whether or not he can 1v1 like a Gundam. Like, I'm good on the tangibility of it. Like, it's all made up. It's different universes. Goku can't fight Superman. They're not even the same world.
That's how I feel when people are like, who would win a fight, Goku or Superman? I just think of the poster for Alien vs. Predator where it says, no matter who wins, we all lose.
Oh, God. Yeah. Mixed media.
All right, so what's next for you guys? Where can people see you? Do you have any shows coming up or anything else? Obviously, you have the single coming out.
Yeah, well, the single is coming out. We do have an EP that we've been working on putting the final touches on, just vocal mix wise. That we are probably just going to drop for funsies. I'm not sure if we're going to do it December or just like early January. That one's literally just a little goodie bag for anybody who enjoyed our music, and we have a couple spare songs that also fit together thematically into an EP. That's going to be called Last Midnight. It's about a party at the end of the world. So that'll be pretty cool.
You'll actually see one of the characters, that little guy right there, peeking out from behind the building. He's going to be on the cover for that one.
Yeah.
I'll put him on the screen there again so people can see him.
Yeah. In terms of shows, we don't have anything planned. We're actually trying to figure that part out because we would like to play a couple more shows. I would love to play something at either the end of the year, like Christmas. That would be really cool. Yeah. Or maybe my birthday. My birthday is December 18th. If anyone wants to put together a show, is December 18th a weekend day though? That's something I didn't think. That's something I didn't think about. I forget when my birthday falls. It turns out it's like a fucking Tuesday. That would suck.
It could be.
What was it? The
18th? Yeah.
Wednesday.
All right, the weekend after. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll tie it into Christmas. I don't know. I'll dress up as Santa with a mask on. I don't know. But yeah, we'd like to find a show to do like end of the year-ish. That would be kind of cool, just to kick off us being like in the public eye and actually going forth with all this. We are also working on album 2. We're very excited for what's coming up, but we're not going to spoil anything. It's gonna be very good. Very, very fun concepts we're throwing around, And recording's been going good, and I'm super excited for album 2. We're hoping to get it ready for release for summer. We want ourselves a nice summer album. That'll be pretty sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to mention?
Don't do drugs unless you wanna, but don't.
And don't do
Anyways.
math. It's useless.
Don't do math. Don't dunk your Oreos sideways. That shit will get crazy.
I felt like, it was weird that you guys had triangular masks on and that I didn't get to have one. So here we are. I brought my own.
This is everything I wanted.
You were just sitting on that. You were there the whole time.
I've been waiting this whole episode.
Hell
to put
yeah.
that on. Yeah.
I love it.
Dude, this is so validating.
All right. So now I am the third member of the band.
Yes, it's Tari and Mari and Rich.
Wolverine.
and Wolverine specifically.
Atari and Mari and Marvel lawsuit.
Yeah. Till you're 90.
All right. So let's see if I can read with this on.
A little harder.
Atari and Mari's debut album, Standing on the Verge of Getting Worse, is available now on all major streaming platforms. And their new single, The Wind Screams Lonely, will be released this Friday, November 22nd, on all platforms. And the film that it ties into is Frozen Run, which will be out December 13th.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you hanging out with us, especially as we went a little later this time. So if you enjoyed the show, please like, please share, please comment, do all of the good algorithm stuff. We appreciate that.
Engage.
In fact, Chris Jones said hello, by the way.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
How you doing, buddy?
Ian also said, hell yeah, my guys.
Shout out Ian.
Let's see. Keegan said, let's go, Tari and Mari.
Shout out Kitchen Teeth and the Summits. Love them. Great rock bands. Playing great rock music.
And Summers says, hashtag boosting the algorithm.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah. We love those. We take those.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much, and have a good night. We'll see you next Wednesday.